Okay, welcome to the 51st lecture of the Otaru University of Commerce English Lecture Series. It is a great honor and a great pleasure to welcome somebody very special to this lecture series today. He is Mr. Satoshi Date. He is a fashion designer, he's an artist, he's a movie maker, he makes music, he does a number of wonderful, interesting things, and he's going to be here today to talk to you about his career, his life, and lots of interesting stuff. Please welcome Mr. Satoshi Date.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to start the lecture. About 1 hour, then 15 minutes of question, or if you want more. I'll introduce myself first. And before we start this PowerPoint, I want to show one of my videos. Can we make the light?
Yeah.
This is the video I made. Just a second.
In the back.
And it's filmed with 8 milli film, which is very difficult to find nowadays, and it costs a lot as well. And then we import it to digital, then we edit it. So this is a collection of one of my collection, and this coat is made of felt, and I use felt a lot. Some markers that I can show you later are made of felt. This takes a long time to finish. We got the raw wool from Germany. Then we mix the color. So the colors, we just get the fiber, then we mix them, then we felt. So it's a long process. And the music is done by myself as well, performing and composing and everything. This is also recycled fabric, and then I felt it. I put some raw wool over the top, and then in the washing machine to felt. I quite like the organic materials, and also I use digital to compose my music, but I quite like the analog sounds. Most of the rhythm sound is from the scissors or sewing machine, and I mix them with the music program. I quite like the idea of mixing the digital techniques and analog techniques. I also quite like the abstract image. I don't like something very realistic, but I found that this abstract image can be more realistic for me. we start? So I play my music as a background, as you can see. Right. Okay. I hope this is right. Name. So yeah, my self-introduction and cultural difference. I'm sure there's some foreign students here, so you might not apply, but please listen. Life in England. I study and also set up a label by myself in England. So talk about that and my works and the message to the people. Right. My career and education in Japan and education in England. I want to talk about the difference. Right. And my career. I from Togo. I don't know if you heard of it. It's in. I was born in Tokyo. It's quite. Well, my mother is from Togo Music University, which is very famous and well known in the world as well. Have you heard the Ozawa? Seiji Ozawa is a conductor. He was. He's now in Boston Conservatory, Boston Symphony Orchestra, I think. And they went to Vienna, so they no longer in Boston, but he graduated there, I think. And so my mother knew that the school is quite good, so I went kindergarten and automatically we go to high school, so I didn't have any exam or anything. And then I went to exam. I tried to enter art university in Japan, and then I went to States for a month. Then went to St. Martin's, which is have you heard of St. Martin's? St. Martin's, you know, England. In England, it's I think the most popular foreign school in Japan, and people who want to study art or fashion, they always say St. Martin's. It's big now. So this is me kindergarten. I was here. I'm always somehow at the corner. I did choir, I studied in the choir, and looks actually, and the reason why I talk about this is I think it's quite important, and how I grew up and then how I ended up in England. Somehow in the photographs I look very happy and always smiley, but in my mind it was totally different. I was so suffering about the world and what's going to happen to my life, and I was so scared of being in the adult world. And I wanted to be a cartoonist, actually. So my dream was being a cartoonist. But gradually changes later. This is the manhole of Mitaka. I grew up in Mitaka, which is, have you heard Ghibli? It's a museum, is in there. It's very green. If you go there, you don't really think this is in Tokyo. So that's around there. So I studied drawings and the graphic design in prep school, which is Yogi Hall in Tokyo. Because I wanted to go to art university, I was so I respected my uncle who went to art university, which is called Tokyo Art University. And somehow I thought I had to go there, and then it's kind of following my uncle, then going abroad. And I was watching many music clips, English, especially American as well, and then I was so fascinated about the graphic design, also music. And so at the time I was thinking being a graphic designer. but I couldn't get in. Then, yeah, then I somehow, usually, people just want to try and try and try. And Tokyo University is very high numbers of people who are trying to get in. It's 40 times, so 1 out of 40 can get in, which is maybe the highest, the most difficult in a way to get in. And yeah, most of people just try and try and try, and people just do 5 times 6 years doing the same, which is very silly. So I just, when I couldn't see my number on the board, I just thought that this is ridiculous. I just somehow felt that they don't understand me, and I'm better than them. So then I changed my mind, and luckily my high school teacher knew someone in Boston, and then he said, why don't you go to Boston? I wasn't sure about Boston because I wanted to go to England, but I liked some music in New York as well, so I was quite close to New York. Why not? Then I went a month. But when I went there, I was so shocked because this was the first time I went abroad, and I was so I got this culture shock, and then I couldn't really sleep, or I couldn't really eat for a week, because of the culture shock. Everything is different from smells, or not just the visual, just everything. It's just, I was like, really panicked. Because I wanted to go abroad and I wanted to do something and I wanted to be successful. I didn't realize, I thought that, oh yeah, people say if you want to go abroad you have to be 16 or 17, otherwise you can't get used to the culture or speak a language, which I don't think is true. But yeah, I felt that I was too late to go there. But I was trying, somehow I was trying hard. Just a month, but that was a very big change for me. I was so shocked, but I tried to communicate with people. I couldn't really speak English. When I went to the airport in Boston, someone picked up for me, and then they talked in English, and I didn't understand them at all. And then I was like, oh my god, what have I done? But I quite like make myself in a very bad situation or very difficult situation. I think it's very important for everyone to do that, because if you don't change the environment, you can't change yourself. It's, if you're sitting in the same box, and then you can't change. Some people went abroad, which is it's a good challenge. And so I went to the guitar shop and I bought $100 guitar, and then this is the first time I sang in front of the people, which is quite amazing for me. And I was very shy. I couldn't talk to. I was in a male school, so I couldn't talk to a girl at all. And lots of complex I had. I was extremely shy. But then this was really big change for me because I was trying hard. So that's the drawing in Boston. So this is in Harvard, and I just entered. I was in Harvard University. Entered like this. Okay. Now, General Alexander McQueen is dead already, but I know some. I knew many fashion designers. I was a bit strange boy. Even I wanted to go to graphic design. I was wearing a junior high school student uniform, and then I went to a bookshop and watching, reading a fashion magazine, full of girls around. But somehow I was so interested in fashion. The reason is because I hope you don't misunderstand, but I had a desire for women. Like, I respect a lot of women still. Because I'm a man and I don't understand the women fully. So somehow like big admire feeding to the women, then I thought that this is very interesting to design for women, which I admire, and to do something creative. And I thought this was quite fascinating. So I was reading many fashion magazines and fashion TV, and I knew about Alexander McQueen and other designers. So he's one of them I respected. I say respected because I don't really respect anymore. So this is Princess and Prince. He was already dead at the time, but they made this wedding dress and the others. And Saint Sharon I used to like a lot as well. Saint Sharon is from is a Central St. Martin's I mentioned. It was very interesting to see his work because it's not really clothes. It's a clothes, but it's lots of ideas. This is a table that you can take anywhere to travel, and this is it's very crazy. I mean, he doesn't sell much as you can see, but he's got a sponsor, so he survived. You can find on YouTube there are many interesting stuff. So other St. Martin's graduates, John Gallian is from Dio, Stella McCartney is the daughter of Paul McCartney, and yeah, many. There's a musician, but they're quite famous too. Right. This is in class. That's in England, St. Martin's. Yeah, I managed to get in, which is quite incredible for me because I couldn't even get into best university in Japan, and I thought, how come? First, I went to London College Fashion, which is a different kind of connected to Central St. Martin's. Did a foundation course in England. There's a one-year course, which is foundation course. Then you graduate that, you finish that, then you can apply to BA course, which is a degree, 3 years course. England, it's funny, if you want to do art, you can just do art. Of course, you have to do the essay and stuff, but it's very different from other countries. You know, I think in the United States, even you're in art school, you have to do in a different subject. But yeah, it's quite just straightforward to start. So I managed to get in from London College Fashion to St. Martin's. I think this is second year. At the fashion show in school. All right. So talking about Japanese education system, there's a juken, and I said, well, you recall before prep school, you have to go to preparation school, then you go to university, and most of people do that. Which I don't know the other Asian country, but I think in Korea they have the same system. And I really against that because I think it's very useless. It's people just study. You can. I know many people who got into a good university by themselves, and especially in art prep school, which is you get the great skills, which I got, which was good, but also people just become narrow-minded, and when you go to art university, they don't have any individuality or character or originality, and there are not many great artists or designers from Japan, although they study hard. Average education, I think the people as well, there are many middle-class people in Japan, and which it's good to organize stuff and also to work the system because everybody's average. And I think the Japanese education, they're trying to find something you're not good at, and they're trying to make it average. But in England, I think Europe as well, and I will say, they're trying to find what you're good at, and then you try, because the people are different, you know, as you can see, you're different, different culture, different face. You can't be so same like robots. So that's a difference. And in England, they're trying to encourage the good parts of yours and then to make it much better. Yeah, I was talking about this school, the art school, relationship and society. More close, and in England, if you go to art school, it's the middle of the town, and in Japan, in Tokyo, it's really pushed away. And also museums and stuff, it's, you know, it costs, in England it's free, because the government is supporting a creative, you know, artistic society. One-way direction. This, I found, it's just a one-way. In Japan, there's a rail. Imagine there's a rail and then a train and you're inside the train. If you're in a system, you're okay. If you go to the good school and a good university, after that you go into the good company, and you might have children in studies, and you have the rest of life in very safe. That's the kind of plan most of Japanese people think. And if you're not that plan, you're kind of outsider. But most of the people cannot follow that system or cannot follow the direction. And then what happened? And that's why there's so many people who commit suicide or have mental problems. Because I think I went actually in Akita a couple of days ago. NPO they trying to stop the percentage of commit suicide, try to stop the suicide, because in Akita is a very high rate of suicide. I think Hokkaido is quite high as well, which actually I don't really know, but you know, northern parts mainly have that. So I think that in the Japanese system they don't really try people to encourage themselves to be not just individual, but to be strong mentally. Because everybody says and everybody trying to help, you go in this way, this way, but you're not actually trained. So once you got the wall, then you don't know how to get out, and then you just go to the company, oh, suicide, okay, suicide. And easy. That's how I feel. Because if you are since you're a child, if you're trained in many ways, you feel that there's a lot of possibility, and you don't like me, that I was lucky that I felt no, to try not to go to Tokyo University. I go to Europe. I don't care about Japan. So that's another option to do, and that kind of flexibility is very important, because no one can follow the system that's already created. You have to find your way. The way is not there, you created. So that's England. Yeah, expect individuality and develop the possibility. Yeah, I just said that the school is different, art school. Inventive life pathways, that's what I actually said. That respect individuality, they're very individual, which is fine and good. And we are now in a very international world. Japan have to communicate with different nations. So yeah, we got to speak in English and we got to communicate, so you have to be very good at communicate. And not just in the creative people, not just the politicians, I think. You do the business. If you want to be like just a crafty man in the countryside, and maybe you don't need to communicate with others, but you know, we're not actually closing the country like in the earlier periods. The problem in England is that it's very, I'm not saying, you know, Europe is great or, you know, States is much better. It's just different, but we have things to learn from there. The problem in England is they are very individual, but somehow that creates kind of confused system. And the problem in England, when I go to a hospital and it doesn't work, if I go to the kind of big organization, it doesn't work, I have to call 3 times to make sure what's the real. Because they just don't think as a whole. So sometimes I have a problem, like a train doesn't come in the right time, and which maybe that's quite human. But I don't feel like the system is working. If you get used to it, it's fine, but sometimes if you respect whatever you do, you can go down, really, really deep. And that's why there are lots of drug problems, or because people are not really supporting. People are supporting, but it's more kind of you do whatever you want. They respect what you do, whatever you do, but it's really up to you. So you have to be very strong in this kind of society. In Japan, it's quite protected, I think. This is the fashion show I helped. It's a backstage. It's Alexa McQueen, I did the intern. This is the first time I did, I composed music and dress at the same time. So there's a bulb inside, and it flashes. So it's a mix of my idea, music and garment. So this is a final collection in 7 months. Okay, so different culture and different society. Yeah, different lifestyle, food, clothes, different of the passage in the arts, language. Do you know anything about England's food? Yes?
It's very plain.
Plain, okay. What's the main dish? What's the famous dish?
Yorkshire pudding,
Yorkshire
fish and chips.
Okay. Where are you from?
Rabbit Welsh?
New Zealand.
New Zealand. What's that?
Rabbit Welsh? Welsh rabbit, sorry.
Okay.
Cheese.
Yes. It's much better now, but 10, 15 years was really hard work. There are lots of Japanese restaurants and different restaurants. Some Italian restaurants, okay, very good. I mean, I eat at home, so I don't really care. If you go to countryside, it's fresh, and there are some nicer food, but I guess I don't know, they concentrate on creative things rather than food. Right, so this is East London. Right, and yeah, fish and chips, yeah. Yorkshire pudding, yes. So this is Tate Modern, and it's very interesting building. This was a fire station, fire station, and some bits outside it's reformed, but this is a very interesting idea. It's outside. It's not working as a fire station, so they just kept it as a tradition, or as a remark, as a kind of symbol. Then inside it's everything's different. It's modern art museum, which is very, very interesting. There are some buildings like that in England, and I hope they learn in Japan these kind of things. In Japan, they destroy everything and then build up a new thing, which is not pretty. You can keep the traditions. I'm sure there's a way to reform or renovate. Yeah, cosmopolitan city. I think, London especially is very, very cosmopolitan and very mixed. Women rights are different. Still, Japan is a men's society, I think. They respect a lot of women, and almost, 90% the people don't complain if they have the same job. Some nurse or secretaries, and they're still woman works, but individuality, difference of communication between help. I mean, some people are English speaker, but English is it's a very direct language, I think, and at the same time that you can learn the culture. Um, People don't really care so much about age. Even you have a 30 years gap and then you talk, maybe you might start Mr. Mrs. but then second time you don't know how to use it. So it's very direct language. My own experience, right, this is the BNI on the right, picture on the Harvard Museum. They do fashion show in a museum. I went there. I didn't really want to go to language school, but that was free from St. Martin's, so I went. Because I didn't want to spend money for language, I thought I can learn by myself. But that was free for 5 months, I just went. Then that's London fashion on the right, I was studying. This is Edinburgh. Do you know Edinburgh? Yes, you told me the answer. Do you know this place? It's a very beautiful place in England. Devon, have you heard? Devon, the famous supermodel before, called Devon, now he's mixed American and Japanese. Because her mother loves Devon and they call her daughter Devon, which is funny. And on the right, this is no edit. It's very beautiful. I've been to this place. It's very, very beautiful. It's most very fantasy like. It's a very beautiful place. It's called Dartmoor National Park. It's a national park, but the people live there. My friends live there. Many sheep and cows. There's some colors because they belong to someone. That's why. It's very, yeah. I really love this place. It's very beautiful. I believe that these different. Of course, Japan has a beautiful nature too. English people are very creative, and they have, some genius comes up from that country. I think because of nature is very beautiful and connected to the people very well. I think that in Japan, the people who live in the city is very isolated or disconnected to the nature, which is quite sad. Boxes. Yes, like box. Photographs. And this is in Devon too. I try to carry camera. Now everybody has because of mobile phone. And the sketchbook as well. Even you're not doing something great, but I recommend to carry small sketchbook and trying to draw once a day. And that will create your originality, your eyes, your view, and you will find what you like. Even if something boring you might find it's beautiful because that's your point of view. And that's why I try to carry camera, so I use a film camera, and a sketchbook all day. And when I find something interesting, I try. And if you carry that, you're trying to find something interesting always. Otherwise, you don't really find it because you're carrying something and you want to find something interesting. Then in a way, you're creating yourself at the same time. And it's good for diary, and you don't have to be a painter or anything, but it's fun. And then sometimes you remember more things than taking a photograph because you see the details. Photographs, I like abstract image as well, but photographs and sketches, the difference is it's a kind of it's to communicate with people more rather than my feeling. The sketchbook is more, in a way, more egoistic sketch or drawings. This is important. See, quite like this one. That's it's a double exposed by accident. Paintings. Painting I never actually learned art. I never learned. I just studied graphic design. When I was in a prep school, Yoko, I realized that I don't have any my paintings. Then when I start paint, all the skills that I learned in prep school, it matches very nicely. And then I draw. I draw like hundreds or thousands of paintings at the time. So this is one of them. And I was so happy that somehow it matches. Lots of people doesn't happen. I don't know why it happens to me. Some people who went to the university I wanted to go, they could paint, but there's nothing inside. It's just a skill, and it's so boring to see. I guess it's the paintings or any kind of creative work. It's up to your mind and what you experienced, and rather than skills. And people struggle to try to get the skills, but that's maybe 1 or 2% of quality of art. Graphics. As I wanted to be cartoonist, this is maybe fast cartoon idea. Is explaining about my ideas, becoming quite conceptual. This is about filter, and whatever you see since you were born, you take things, but then at the same time you're creating the filters. So some people see some color and you're frightened or you become happy, and because you're creating with your own experience, creating the filter by your own experience. So when he ate this cube, then he speaks cubes. Color I named personal filter is the metaphor we use to explain how each individual perceives things differently. And then I made a scarf. This was selling in a toy shop in London. I designed. These are other scarves. This is a CD jacket. Japanese artist wants me to draw. This is my music CD. Okay, fashion. Actually, I don't really like calling fashion. I like clothing, but fashion involves many things. And I think fashion is changing now. You know, there's so much mass production, Uniqlo, or in England it's called Primark. I think I'm very against this mass production because it's very soulless. I was trying to put my spirits or my assistant's spirits inside of the clothes. Then people who buy clothes care about the clothes and then think about more ideas. If you're surrounded by cheap things, I believe that your life will be cheap because you don't have any consideration about anything. Frame was, this is another concept I made, is walls are just a frame, in a frame. It says here frames of walls is the language that consists of only an external frame. Inside of frames there are abstract images that change constantly. So I don't think, sometimes a word, if you say even I like you, I love you, you know, no one knows that's the truth. No, the truth is inside the box, which is a word. And some people, most of the time people tend to see the frame and then they believe, according to the information, you know, if the majority of people said, oh, someone said I love you, and then he loves you, then okay. But the truth is always changing each second. And so I wanted to concentrate on that abstract world is more real. But people don't think it's that, it's not sure, you know, it's not quite solid. So people don't really want to believe because we are set up by language. And I think there's a fear to believe just the frame and not to see the inside. This one was used for the Kimonogakari talk. So I tried to use these straight forms and cubes to explain this concept. It's like a conversation is connected. Roots of being, this is about the possibility I talk about. Roots as in roots, the origin, and also the ways. And being as in human being, and also being, B-I-N-G, which I quite like. So I drew to explain this concept. So this is when you were born. This is when you are dead. And we are in the box which is limitation, which is your body. You can't go to universe or the moon, or you go to England a second later, because there's a limitation, which is the body. You have to move your body to one place to another. And if you're trying hard, you might die. And I think it's almost impossible to draw on two-dimensional world, but your mind might going up, or your feeling and also your positions in the world. We move, and then we die. But there are lots of possibility within the limitation. As long as you're in the box, which is your body, using right way, there's many possibilities. So I believe if you open your mind, and there's many possibilities. If you shut down your mind, then of course it's the end. There's no possibility. And I create this collection. For example, this clothes is a pattern. The clothes are made from the flats most of the time. Then we cut and then we sew together. So on the right one, it's just a rectangular pattern, and then I cut just randomly. So we don't know what's going to happen. So from that, using the possibility to create a beautiful clothes. So that was the idea. This one. And this you can tie up and then you pull and then it changes. That's another way of expressing the possibility. I like this clothes. You can't really see, but there's some strings and you tie it up here. And usually it's fall down. It stops here. But if you pull and then you tie up here, it floats. These are illustrations. That's the felt accessories I saw in Kobe and also Kyoto. I use a recycled fabric as well. And this, takes quite a long time. I import from Germany the yarns, the fibers, and then mix together. This is recycled materials too. Exhibitions. This is the first time I mix everything together. Well, I do music and art and the clothing, and I did film as well. And so I just thought, why not mixing? And I wasn't sure what's going to happen, but I could create my own world, which you don't feel from this photograph. You have to be there. Then you feel it, because I try to use 5 senses. I made this cat as well to express myself too. Next stage I want to do more food too. And one of my friends who really impressed and cried with me, and she said that she feels what I been experienced. So to be there, without being there, I think it's almost impossible to feel my world. But I was very happy to create my own world. This one of my friend Turkish girl was impressed with my exhibition, and she took everything to Turkey and then did the exhibition for me. It's another exhibition. I did a paper mache. So this is made of Japanese tissue papers. It looks like a living animal, but inside there's a film screen, and people go inside and then see. So every time the color changes according to the film color, and then it changes. It looks like moving. So that's inside. This took a long time to create this, and I had to destroy it, and it is very shame. Yeah, that's one of my illustrations. I do different projects. Tottori projects. Have you had Tottori? I mean, some foreign students, you know, where's Tottori? Is, you know?
I've been there.
Oh yeah, cool. Where?
Just in the city, just to Tottori.
Tottori, okay. My grandfather is from there. There's only one dune, not desert, dune, in Japan. I think one. It's well, anyway, biggest in Tottori. And Japanese pear is from there. It's very tasty. The beautiful sea as well. And I helped NPO there. So what I do is make products, food products, one of the projects. Because if you go to countryside, sometimes you see very horrible design, but it's inside, it's very tasty. And so I try to help the design. And also the tasting I do sometimes too. So this is nashi dress, so dressing and dress, I kind of made a joke. And nashi is a Japanese pear. This will be sold. So dress, as these containers dress them by themselves, and this is going to be handkerchief, and you can use again. And this is marché in French, it's a market, right? And misasa is onsen price, hot spring price, and I did produce. About this. This market is after onsen, after the hot spring, you go to the markets and then you buy the product in the region, and you can order anywhere in Japan. This is the project in London. So this is about earthquake in Tohoku. We create this, and then we send to everywhere in the world, and for something in England that we sold, and those money goes to charity. It's a very shame. I actually went to Sendai just now and talked with staff in the Sendai city. People start forgetting about this because it's it's been 2 years. If I say about earthquake, 2 years ago, what are you talking about? But there's still people suffering, and then it's very tough time because the gap between the people's attention and also the people who are suffering or don't have money or don't have a house is still there. It's quite difficult to continue, but we try and carry on. Because we are from London, some of the people listen. If we create these kind of things in Japan, and it's hard to get mentioned. And Miyagi, Prefecture governor, came to London, and I could see him because of one of these events was happening in London. But I always think there are people who wore sakura fronts. I wanted to put this brooch more meaningful rather than just trying to remember, because disaster happens everywhere in the world, and you know, if one of the comets just attack to the earth, then we forget about Tohoku earthquake. I guess I don't think it's matter of impact or how many people die, because it's about to realize who we are and then realize what we need to do right now. And I want people to think more about it. And Miyagi governor was saying that we're trying to build up to the normal level. But for us, people who live in London, I feel that they have to do much better thing, because in a way it's a good chance to make Miyagi or Fukushima better. And then lots of tourists come, or it could be a very interesting city. But I don't think people in there have those kind of creative ideas. So this is the fashion newspaper in Japan. Let's say online in Germany. This is ethical fashion designers book I was in, and some press in England and also in Germany. Right, message for you. Some people already, foreign students are here, and I don't know how you live here. So this will be good for Japanese students, also foreign students. I think it's very important to try to communicate with the local people, and also, if you're in that country, you should try to speak in that language. Most of the people, I think 99% of Japanese people who go to England, they don't study at all and then go back. And then 1 year spending in the language school, they don't speak English. They go back, and then I'm sure that lots of friends said, oh, you've been in England for 1 year, I'm sure you can speak English, and then they can't. They might be a little, but not enough. And I know it's tough to have lots of money to study in university, but people who go to university in England, they have more passion and they have view, future plan, and those people speak very, very good English. I find it very hard to find a good speaker from language school, because language school, most of the time, they just go there and just hang around with Japanese and hang around with, study just 3 hours in a day, and then live with Japanese people, work in a Japanese restaurant. It's the same as being here and studying a language school over there. There's no point. And not just about school, it's communicate with many other nationalities, Europeans, English, and then discuss or talk about life, or then finally you can say that you learned the culture or you learned the language. That's something. And I say, if you go abroad and then within 3 months, if you can't find any improvements, you will never ever learn the language, because you don't have any passion, you don't have any strength, or it's very, very important. I was just, I don't know, I wanted to learn English, especially I like the British English, and also I love rock, and I felt like I got to do something, and I didn't like Japanese people in England when I arrived. I really hated them. So even I find a very good Japanese student, I try to speak in English, even on the phone, and you will never forget your mother tongue, never. So you don't have to worry about it. You just 1 or 2 years with the local language, just great. And that's actually very, very good for you, because if you speak different languages, you can think in a different way. And also you could create another yourself. As I said, I was very shy and I was very weak and I was mentally very not so strong. Because I created another person, I forget about myself in Japan. And then I could come back in Japan and I'm fine. I was very afraid of coming back to Japan because I had many kind of trauma. But yeah, so you could create a new you and yeah, to beat the other yourself. So that's a good thing. And also, it's a shame that the Japanese is not a world language, but English is now. So you got to study. You have to study English, and you have. It's normal in Europe. If people speak English normally, and then speak another French or German, that's normal. So it's necessary, I think. And then lots of benefit. Do you understand? Laws automatically you can speak with any nationalities if they can speak English, and you understand what's going on in the world. After the earthquake, you know, if you can only speak Japanese or one language, you can just research about what's happening in your own language. If you understand English, you can go to BBC or you can go to CNN, and then you crack the lots of information and you can see what's happening. Yes, and user experience in other country to develop your, yes. That's actually difficult thing. There are lots of people come to England, but they love England and they don't want to come back to Japan. And I think that's wrong, because your origin is origin, you can change, you can't change. It's like you start your business, and then that's your business name, and you can't suddenly change, oh, I'm English, I'm white, you know, I act like English, but that's impossible. Your origin is very important. Also, it's your most strong thing that you can use, and it's very sad. I know that Japanese society is tough, and some people hate it, but without you, then you can't change your own country, and because you have a different mind and different open-minded mind, and then if you go back and then trying to help your country, then that will change. That you might not like the society, but you're the one who can change. And I think it's kind of escape if Japanese people go there, go to England, and marry with someone, and just forget about Japan and never go back. And some people may be fine, but it's most of my friends or assistants go back to Japan and they really hate it, and they really want to go to London or UK or other countries, which is very sad. I really want to change that. That's why one of the reasons I come here or other places to do the lecture is I want people to think that it's possible to change. If, as I said, there are many possibilities. If you stop that possibility, then it will never happen. It's tough, but I believe that we can change things. I'm sure that there are so many problems in England and Europe as well, but and we learn from the other countries, and then we can mix together. I'm not saying that to change completely the traditional culture, and especially as I'm Japanese, I feel that I got to do something in Japan because I'm really very irritated to see what's happening in Japan from England. Consider and realize where you are. It's the same thing that you have to realize, and not just to be an individual. It's not important to just to be individual. You go and think about the other people and listen to others. By yourself, you can't live your own life. You have to communicate and get the support. And for me as well, without support, I can't be here and I can't create my own things. Yes. Start one now. So I will answer if you have questions. Right.
Okay, let's open up for questions. First, let's thank our speaker for today. Okay, questions?
Yes.
You said when you went to America you had a really, really bad culture shock.
Yes.
But you didn't say anything about that when you went to England. Do you have as much?
Not so much in England, but yeah, not so much, not as much as in States, because I've been to Boston, it's called New England, and Western but that wasn't so much. But I was quite disappointed about England, as I don't know, I was creating some image that people were quite cold. I found later that was respecting the individual people, but I felt very cold, and I didn't find it. Why is this the place that I really passionately come? But it's more about being myself. It was tough rather than culture, because I didn't have so many friends, and I didn't have so much support. So, but that was actually good at the end. Yeah, in Boston was much more. As I'm, Asian, Japanese, I'm sure that, States and England is different, but for me, it's kind of the same. So, shock in Boston was much more. Yeah, ask me anything.
It's interesting to see somebody go to US in a month and then have kind of culture shock in a week that you even couldn't eat anything. That's pretty strange. But yeah, if you say that you feel everything in 5 cents and kind of you smell different, then I can understand that somehow.
Yeah, I'm quite sensitive. Some people don't even feel that, but I guess because I expected so much that, oh yeah, I'm in a different country, I can do something. But then when I see New York City from the top, and then there are loads of lights, and oh my God, there's so many people. How can I be successful in this country? So I'm just tiny man. But then I just felt it's nothing. Yep.
I now know that how talented you are and what career and your experience in England and US, but I want to know what makes you be into fashion, and what you like.
Fashion.
Yeah, what you like about it.
Okay. Yeah, clothing is very interesting for me, because art and music, I can't stop doing it. Fashion is like, I can't do everything by myself, because fiber is from manufacture, and then also sewing machinist, also pattern cutter, and it's all lots of process. So I have to think about the clients. But the interesting thing is, I could use my creativity or expression onto the garment, then people walk around as clothes, and then that concept carry on to the other person, and then express again, and then maybe some people influence, and then they influence again. That kind of process is very interesting for me. Before I was just, I wanted to make clothes because I want to put on a beautiful body, that was it, but nowadays that's my view. Also, to wear is quite interesting, because I believe that I can put my soul in the product. Then when they wear, then they feel what I feel, and not just to showing off the outside. And I want people to change from the inside, from wearing it. So yeah, that's my. Yeah. Okay.
Other questions?
Yep.
Do you think there are any up-and-coming designers from Japan at the moment,
In London?
anywhere in the world that might strike through in the mainstream?
For me, no. I mean, the fashion world is, any kind of creative world is going down nowadays. I think the problem is people not demanding so much, and so it's vice versa. The creator doesn't have so much passion to create. I mean, I believe that I have, but most of the people don't have, because it's very dull nowadays. You know, people are not really interested to find something, yeah, interesting. Because YouTube, you can find anything what you want. You know, it used to be like you go to the record shop and then find and then spend lots of money, and everything is available, which is very make ourselves very dull. I think that's one of the problem, I guess. And so we got to create a system to stimulate ourselves, which is very hard because everybody wants to be comfortable and convenient. Yeah, I think it's a big issue now. Yeah.
So you study design in London?
Yep.
And you kind of working with on your business there now?
Yep,
So do
yep.
you have any things related to Japan now, or you just come back and do the lecture? Any article that you have related?
Yeah, I mean, I have some plans. Maybe I might do the fashion show in Tohoku, fashion show in a different region to encourage people. You know, Tottori is it's not poorest, but it's the least population there and not so many GDP. So that's why one of the reasons I help. So I want to do something for the people who suffer or have problems. So I don't mind going anywhere. So my plan is it would be good that if I could be the kind of bridge between England and Japan, and if I could do something together. I come to Japan, I try to come to Japan twice a year and do the lectures and try to set up some projects, but now just get started. So I haven't got like very big project right now, but mainly I work in London.
How about selling your product in your hometown?
You mean in Japan, hometown? I had to find the boutiques. Right now only Kyoto and Kobe and maybe in Nagano as well. But I do interested in more to help or selling my products or do projects in countryside rather than Tokyo or big city. Because as politicians say as well, it's so concentrated in Tokyo that it's not really.
Okay, let's have some questions in the back.
Yeah, fine.
Anyone else?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for the next presentation, and I want to ask two questions.
Yeah.
One, which company's clothes are you wearing right now? And do you have any specific favorite blog?
I couldn't hear the second one.
Sorry. Do you have any specific blog, specific favorite blogs?
Favorite brand.
Yes.
And what I'm wearing now, I don't know. It's a second hand. I don't buy, yeah, expensive clothes, or sometimes I get from my friends, and yeah, most of the time. I buy shoes, the new one. I bought in, I don't remember actually, in London. Somehow I spend the money for shoes, but. And favorite brand, I used to have like Les McQueen or Sunshine or John Galliano, but now I really don't care. I just, now the time to express, I don't really care about. I see it sometimes, but I get inspiration from, not from clothes, I get inspiration from products or design or art design or communicating with people. Yeah.
I love your sweater very much.
Oh, thank you. Thanks so much. Anything else? Yeah.
Which is your favorite fashion week out of the four big ones, the Paris, Milano, New York, and London? Which is your favorite?
I think Paris is interesting because London Fashion Week is getting boring and very, very dull. In 90s, there are so many designers, but now lots of people go to Paris because Paris has got the traditions, and it's my point of view, but they have traditions for art. Lots of artisans, they're much more combined than England, I think. There are great art sculptor in England, but not so many painters. There are some modern artists, but I don't think that's true artists. So Paris, I think it's a place to do. I haven't done it, but I did just the ethical fashion show in Paris. But I would like to try and to just see what they're gonna say about my products or art. Anything you're going to say?
Yeah, we talk about like change the environment so you can change your personal life. But I don't know your experience, but according to my experience, like sometimes you change the environment, like instead you create a new yourself. It's very difficult. Sometimes the environment change, but you found something inside you is always the same. So how do you deal with this kind of problem? You just change to another place, like face another culture.
You mean even you change your environment, it's difficult, but you can't change the environment?
I don't mean that if you can't change environment, there is some problem you face yourself. And sometimes now like a problem, and you try to maybe change, solve the problem by changing the environment. Like this thing, if it doesn't work, how do you do this?
If it doesn't work? I try to communicate with people. Because you can't, because some people really go to England because they think they can find something else or they can find themselves there, but sometimes they can't. It's tough, but I think in there trying to find the right people and then trying to make an environment as well. It could be house, it could be friends or your life routine as well. That actually changes. And I struggled a lot, but I got the support from friends a lot, and also trying to change the environment. If you don't like the house, or if I was living with very, very horrible flatmates, and I can't really talk about much, but I can trade that it's the worst flatmates in the world. And but after he left, and then everything's changed. All the luck. I think being positive is very important. Even that it might be hard, but trying to find because if you could find a way by yourself, and if you could do by yourself, then that's going to be your strength in the future. Of course, you need a support as well, but you have to be clever to kind of make an environment, but not in a visual way. Maybe there are many ways that I think you have to find out, but you can't just keep moving because you might have problems just behind your back and just carrying that. The reason why I become conceptual and think about the others because I met many assistants who have lots of problems in the past, and I didn't know that. And then some people who how do you say, injured themselves or mental problems. They talked to me, and then now I understood why they're doing it, because I could kind of understand what they feel. So it sometimes becomes like a concept. It's hard, but need to find the right person, need to find the right environments. Even if it's sometimes the time, each time is different. I believe that the time is like that. The kind of we are in a vehicle and then we're moving. So each time we are changing, so we have to wait the right time sometimes. Even you feel that this is the right place. But if you're trying to move within that place and then find the right thing, and then gradually I think it changes. But if you just sit in and do nothing, I know if you're mental, if you're mental and if you have a really mental problem, then if you can't move, it's difficult. But I'm not the expert for that. But I think to solve the problem by themselves it's better in the future because you'll be much stronger.
Any other questions?
Yes.
What do you think about the way Japanese point of view about fashion and English people point of view about fashion?
You mean the street fashion?
Yeah. Or about, yeah.
People in England, they don't really follow trends. I feel in Japan, I feel like they're trying to make a trend or trying to make a movement to trying to consume more, even there's no trend exist. Because the media is controlling a lot in here. So I think it's quite useless to, this season is red, or this is season red. You don't have to change yourself so much. You just need some clothes and then express yourself. I feel very controlled here. In England, people don't mind buying second-hand clothes, and then if they need something new, then they buy it very cheap and then try to arrange it. There are some trend and movement, but not so speedy as here. And also, I found very strange, disgusting Japanese people wearing things that might be trendy, but it's not suitable at all to them. I think because, as I said before, they don't have themselves. They don't know who they are. So it's easy to manipulate. If someone said, you should wear this, then you can create this and then that's not. I don't think that's the right way. You find yourself by yourself.
So you mean that in Japan people are kind of try to go with the trend, but they're not actually do that properly?
They do that just because they are told, but they don't think about how they're gonna, because they don't know what is good for themselves to just wear. They just it's like a mannequin. They just put and don't think about it, which is not which is not. Maybe it's not nice for environment as well, because they other people don't feel nice. I think it's quite interesting if people wear what they want to wear and they know what's good on them.
Okay, we have about 10 minutes left, and Satoshi has put out some of his accessories and things, and you might want to have a look at those before we go. And let's give a big round of applause for Satoshi one more time.